So we have understood the importance of underscores. We have also seen the importance of dunders, which are double underscores. Along with object creation, object initialization, we have also understood those terms. And if you remember, when we have gone for object initialization, we have seen the concept of dunder init, which is nothing but constructor, right? Because it's a special method which is used to initialize the instance variables. Because we'll be understanding what are the variables we declare in the class and what are the types of methods which we are going to discuss in the further videos, which can be instance methods, class methods, static methods. Because generally when we are writing dunder init, the first variable will be self, because that contains address, memory address of the instance. So to make it more convenient, why can't we take a simple program and just work on it, right? So then we'll be working on different types of method. The types of methods includes like instance methods, class methods, static methods, because generally the purpose is to process the variables, right? Generally variables, methods, or print, list, tuples, numbers, whatever it is, everything is considered as an object in a class, right? I hope you are familiar with the importance of object and class by now. Now let's work on these things, right? So let me open my IDLE and let me continue from where we have left, right? So I'll go to file. You can click on recent files so that you get back your recent files. Okay. So we have seen the importance of underscores and I clearly gave you wherever we use it. So generally never ever try to call double underscore, double leading underscore or double leading and trailing. Just pronounce it as dunder. It will be easier for you because that's how Python community people and who are familiar to Python, we pronounce in that way. So I suggest the same thing for you also, right? So hope you follow that. Now let's take a simple example to make it understand, or how do we use this, why should we go for this dunder init method and what made that thing and what are the things we need to follow when we try to define a class and create an object to it. Suppose my intention is I create some student detail class where I want to access the marks of a student, right? So for that, every time remember, whenever you create a program, whether it is a simple program or functions or class, just make it very simple. Always start writing with comments what you are trying to do, because here I'm writing Python program to define student class, right? So that's what I'm trying to give, to define student class and create an object to it. Because always whenever you create a class, you need to just initialize the objects. That's where you go for object creation and object initialization. Create an object to it. Okay. So let me just scroll down. Yeah, fine. So now we'll create a class. So my class name is student, right? So there you go. So whenever you write a class name, obviously the class name will be of blue color. So now the next thing, you need to write the docstring. So what is that docstring will give you? You are writing a sample demo for class. It's up to you whatever you write, but generally in development terms, we generally write the docstring to describe our program, whatever the functionality we are writing. So here the next step I would like to do is I define my constructor, because that is a special method where you try to initialize the variables whatever you declare, and the first one is obviously self, because I clearly told you the importance of self. Always remember, self is like this pointer or this reference in Java. You read the word self, what does that mean? We are telling about ourselves, right? In the same way, you define that special method, which is dunder init, that is double underscore init, double underscore. So instead of pronouncing double underscore every time, we can generally call it as dunder init. Now, so I'll write the first address as first variable as self. And you need not write the same variable every time. I mean, self only. You can give your own variable name, but in the general terminology, we people write it as self to make it very easy. So I can write the comment as this is a special method. So this is a special method which is called as constructor, because with the help of constructor only we'll initialize the variables. Now you can pass your objects here, whatever you want to give. So I want to give student name. So self dot name is equal to, I'll pass my name. I'm not a student, but I'll just pass my name. So self dot name, self dot age is equal to, I'll throw my age here, and self dot whatever you want. Suppose I got my marks is equal to 900, right? So it's up to you whatever you define, it's your interest. So now whatever, if you are trying to directly give out with a special method, and you can directly, if you want to just read the description what you give directly by assigning to a object. So A is equal to student. Okay, now just save it and directly execute it. You see what do you trying to define here? When I give directory of A, what do I got? Age, marks, name. So obviously when you give A dot, what you are trying to throw? You are trying to see the name of the student. What is the name of student? Sakit. So A dot age, you get age, and A dot marks, you get the result. But you are trying to make it more customized, something like you want to define one more method so that you can display the results directly instead of calling from the object. That's where we generally, in general terms, we define multiple methods below that. That's where we call it as instance methods, and we can give any number of methods here, because generally the self variable is used as the first parameter here. And what do we try to do is we generally declare some more methods where I try to use that same constructor which I have defined. I want to display it, where I want to display the results, that is define display of. Again I need to pass self here, because here self can be used as the first parameter, and you need not worry how many number of variables you have in the constructor. You can directly access them here. So that is the reason this is called as instance method, where you are using it instantly. So I am trying to define myself. Hi, I am, right? So any kind of print format, it's up to you. When I give self dot name, then print of another thing, my age is. So it's up to you. You can just customize yourself. So self dot age, next print of, and I want to give my marks are. So again comma self dot marks. Now it's fine. So whenever you want to see the result, obviously now when you call this, when you execute this, when you ask the directory now dir of A, you will be having one more thing, which is nothing but, what can you see here? You can clearly see the display method. Now when you call the display method, directly you can see the result. So A dot, if you want to call individually, you can do it. If I call A dot display, you are getting a method, bounded method. What is your class name? Student. What is the method in it? Display. Because you are not calling the function, right? I mean, you are not initializing it. You have initialized it, but you are not calling the method in the class. How do you call it? You generally give parenthesis. There you go. Hi, I am Sakit. My age is 27. My marks are 900. It's very simple, because that's what your constructor will do. Instead of directly seeing the result, you are trying to customize it, because again the same results. Again you have, when you try to see the age and marks, they are same. A dot age, A dot marks, and A dot name, right? Suppose if you try to give like this, A is equal to student of, you want to pass the variables here, something like I give Raju, and I'll give 25 and 852. It will clearly throw you an error. Why? Your constructor is taking only one positional argument. So that's where, if you wanted to make sure, you try to make it default, just throw those variables in the constructor only. Don't try to pass it here. That is the difference when you give. So that's where the differences come, and let's try to do that way also, where we can make some default things, right? So we'll try to make that things as default, because clearly it is telling you your constructor is taking only one positional argument. Dunder init is taking only one positional argument. You are giving 4, because it is not able to accept, right? Now let's try to change this. What should I do here? So I'll keep up the same program, self comma, I'll give n is equal to, I want to throw some default things, n is equal to dot. It's up to you, whatever you try to give, and I'll give age is equal to A. Let's give some number, right? Why? Age is equal to 0, and marks, right? So marks is equal to 0. It's up to you, whatever you want to give. So now I'll give self dot name is equal to n, and instead of this, age is equal to age, we'll throw here marks is equal to marks, because you can clearly observe now there will be a pretty much difference here. So when you save this and now when you execute it, just ask the directory called dir of a, you generally get age display marks name. So now if you go for a dot, when you go for a dot name, what you can expect? Dot, because you already made it as default, right? If you remember in functions, we have discussed about default arguments, keyword arguments. That's where the importance is. So automatically it is fetching the default argument over there, and a dot age, a dot marks. Obviously, whatever you give, even you call the method, it will give you hi, I am dot, my age is 0, my marks are 0. Now you wanted to customize it. What do you do over there? You do d is equal to, you create another object and now pass your values. Whatever we have defined, Raju, and age is 25, marks are 850. There you go. Now you see there is no error, and d dot display clearly, hi, I am Raju, my age is 25, my marks are 850. Because that's the difference when you pass the objects or variables in the constructor, you need not define here. That is the general process we need to follow, because it is dynamic, right? We cannot expect whatever we try to give. That's what happens in real cases, right? So this is generally called, this is constructor called without any arguments. That's what I am doing here. So constructor is called without any arguments, because I did not pass anything into student, right? Because it will take the default thing what we gave, dot 0 0. Now I am just customizing the same program. You can just give a dot display. What happens over there? You can see hi, I am dot, my age is 0. Save, execute. Automatically hi, I am dot, my age is 0, my marks are 0. That's what we have mentioned over there. Now I wanted to just have some decoration for that, where in print what should I do? I should give some hyphen so that I can see the dashes below my print, below the first result, not below the print. So now I'll give another object where I am trying to call my constructor with 3 arguments, because we gave n name, n is equal to dot, age is equal to. So I'll give d is equal to student of, see it is expecting n equal dot, age is 0, marks, and a doc string. That's what whatever we have defined in, declared in functions, whatever we have learned in function, the same thing. So I'll give here, name is Saket, age 27. It's up to you. I'm writing my name. It's your interest. So now go for d dot display. When you call display method only, you can see the result. Otherwise, you don't see the result. So save and go to run module. Clearly, hi, I am dot, my age is 0, my marks are 0. Hi, I am Saket, my age is, clearly you can see the result. That's where we can go for declaring the constructor, and you can see the method which is declared below the constructor is called as instance method. So in that way, so whatever the variables we have in instance method, those are instance variables, and we'll be discussing about the class methods, static methods, because that's where we have so much difference between each one of them. Because when you go for processing the variables inside the class, whether it is declared in the class, those are called as class variables. Declared in the constructor are called instance variables. So that's what we have declared, or we have learned here, right? By defining a constructor. And why should we define a method below it? What happens if you don't define? You get the result, but you are making it bit more special by calling the method, and you can customize the results within the method, right? So with this logic, we'll try to understand what happens when we declare instance method and class methods and static methods, and what is the difference between each one of them.